said, hey, so I kind of wrote this song for you. What do you think? There's silence for like a day and a half. And I was terrified. I thought, oh no,
she left you
I've
unread. That's not good.
overstepped.
That's not ideal.
Left me unread.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I'm still jet lagged. I just came here a couple days ago, and I've been just in the the massive press junket between the Lilith documentary and the new record. And,
Yeah.
It's great though. So I'm kind of getting to talk about everything all at once.
Been a while too. I mean, been a while since you've done the whole treadmill of promotion too, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of cogs of the wheel that have to get lubricated and geared back up to get the machine going.
I've talked to you a couple of times before, and every time I talk to you, I've talked to you a little bit about new music, and you haven't been overly enthusiastic that there was going to be ever any new music.
Was I really?
Yeah, I would sort of talk to you about it at the end of the interview, and you'd be like, well, I don't know, maybe.
Maybe we'll see, yeah.
And then I was reading when I was, I love the record, by the way, congrats on it.
Thank
I'm just
you.
happy I got to hear it. I saw that you said you were sort of scared to put it out, or you were sort of nervous about making new music.
Well, 11 years, it's a long time. The industry's changed a lot. Also, being 57, and I changed a lot.
Did you hear the wow come from?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still here. Holy shit.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the wow was for. Wow. All right.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of trepidation about getting back into the machine for sure, and how much work it takes.
Yeah.
I love making music. I love singing. I love playing live, but I just wasn't sure actually about what I was going to say. As a woman of privilege of my age, it's like, who wants to hear from me anymore? That was sort of my sentiment. And then I thought, you know what? No, I've got a lot to say. I ended up writing probably 6 or 7 songs about an old relationship that went south. And at the time, it was really important for me. I mean, it's very cathartic for me as an artist to be able to sort through all my stuff. And writing is sort of the way through, and making music. So, but I revisited it, years later, thinking, okay, great, I've got a whole record's worth of material. And I listened to this old stuff. I'm like, I don't want to give that any energy anymore.
Oh, yeah, really?
But then it was like, damn, now I got to go get back to work. And because all of a sudden I didn't have a full body, I didn't have enough music for a record. But I had 6 or 7 other strong songs. And Tony, my producer, was like, well, let's just get going. Let's just see what happens. And that experience with working with Tony and with Will McLachlan, who is the engineer and then co-producer, who's a fellow Canadian, was such an energizing, joyful experience. And it reminded me of how much fun I did have in the studio and how much fun it was to discover what the song could become.
And Tony, who you mentioned, is Tony Berg, who's one of the producers of the record.
Yeah.
Also, he's been in the industry for a really long time. We were talking about him, worked with Air Supply and worked with Michael Penn.
I'm not sure who else who hasn't he worked with.
But recently, most famous for producing the Phoebe Bridgers records, the Boy Genius record.
Yeah. Which is how I became familiar with him.
Is that so?
And that was my daughter's fault.
Tell me.
She introduced me to Boy Genius and Phoebe Bridgers. It's like, you got to listen to this, Mom. And I'm like, I love her voice. I love her songwriting. I love the production. And then Tony's name came up on a list of producers. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's the guy who did Boy Genius. Oh, I want to talk to him. And we just met. We had dinner, and we got on really great. But honestly, it was being in the studio with him. And I played Gravity for him, an earlier version of it. And he listened to the song once. There's a few chord changes, a few inversions. And he sat down and played the entire thing back to me after hearing it once and said, what do you think about maybe putting this inversion here in this third part? I'm like, oh, you just made it way more interesting. Okay, this could be good.
The song itself is beautiful but devastating. And I'll just put the boat in the water and let you row it however way you want. It's about... It's about your daughter. Yeah,
it's about the challenge, some of the challenges of my relationship with my firstborn daughter. I mean, we're kind of, in some ways, incredibly similar, and other ways, oil and water. And we just kind of had a really combative relationship for a bunch of years. Like, I'm really stubborn, she's really stubborn. And I watched her shut down often when things got hard and unable to push through. And I'm looking out there at the world and going, it's a scary, mean place. Like, you have to get some resilience. You have to get some grit. So I thought I was being really loving, but I was also kind of a hard ass. And so by the time she went away to university, it was during COVID. She had a really crappy year. She came home and she was a mess, and I could not reach her. And she didn't feel safe enough to talk to me about what had been going on, because she thought she'd be judged, or whatever these perceptions she had, which was devastating for me. And of course, I didn't really realize this until we got to a place where I'm like, I can't help you. I don't know what to do. I think we need some outside help. And we went to family systems counseling. And this was the most amazing thing for our relationship, because peeling back all the layers of the onion, I discovered that even though I thought I was parenting her in a loving way and I was trying to help her, that's not how she was taking it. She was taking it like, you're making me feel bad about myself. You're making me feel like I'm not worthy, and I can't, look at you. How can I ever live up to this? You're so successful. And it's just this whole thing also about, being a child of a famous parent. I thought I was, kind of keeping them out of all that, but it's there regardless. And so we had to figure that out, and I had to figure out if I wanted to have a good relationship with her, I needed to change the way I was parenting. So the song is kind of about that place in the middle where it's like, there's this awful saying, you're only as happy as your saddest child. You will come to understand this later. You have a newborn.
Yeah, I should say we have a 1-month-old, so she's pretty happy most. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, parenting is a tough gig, and it's a really intimate dance. But it's devastating as a parent when you see your kid suffering and you don't know how to fix it. So. Yeah. Understanding, like getting to a place where she felt safe to share everything that had happened, and then feel my love and my support of her in that safe environment was how we started to repair.
Gravity, this thing that is cannot be manufactured, cannot be taken away. It's there all the time.
It's a scientific truth, right? It's like this thing it's a constant. We know it to be true. Yeah. We know it to be a solid thing.
It's here.
It's here. It's always there. That's, my love for you. And that was the message I was trying to give to her.
It's not conditional.
It is not conditional. Doesn't matter what you do. I have your back.
Man.
And I thought I was doing that and showing that, but that wasn't connecting with her. So.
When did you write it?
About 3 years ago.
You sort of in the middle of it, or?
Yeah, sort of in the midst of it. And Luc Doucette helped me write the lyrics. I've been working with him as a songwriter for a bunch of years, I love writing with him. So.
When did she hear it?
I was a little terrified to send it to her, but maybe about a year ago, after we had recorded an early version of it, I sent it to her and I said, "Hey, so I kind of wrote this song for you. What do you think?" There's silence for like a day and a half. I was terrified. Oh no!
She left you unread. That's not good.
She
that's not ideal.
Left me unread, and so I texted her back. And I'm like, "Hey, hon, just checking in. What did you think of that song?" She goes, "Oh, I loved it, Mama." Typical 22-year-old, right? But and then when I talked with her about, this is going to be on the record. How do you feel about that? She goes, "Oh, I'm fine." I said, "Well, how do you feel about me telling the story? I want to know what you're comfortable with." She goes, "You can say whatever you want. Like, it's totally fine." I said, "Are you sure? Because it's one thing for me to talk about my personal experiences, but when you bring, an innocent person into the situation and talk about a very private matter publicly, I think there needs to be some consent. And also, I wanted to protect our relationship." And she was like, "No, I want you to talk about it. I'm so happy we did that. I want people to know about it."
Your daughters show up on the record in other ways too.
Yeah.
There's a song that I really loved called "One in a Long Line" on the album.
Yes.
Before we talked about your daughter's sort of part in it, back to the idea of fear that we were talking about off the top. You said you were scared to put this song out.
Well, I think part of my fear around putting out a new record was part of my job as a musician is to mirror what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
And to take a look at what's happening in my own life and the world around me, and figure out a way to talk about it and use music as a medium. So looking at like Roe v. Wade getting overturned was shocking. And watching the slow erosion, actually the not so slow erosion of women's rights, not only in America, but all over the world, sort of unveiling in front of our eyes in real time. I was thinking about how hard my mother and our mothers before us worked to put those rights into place, what they gave up, what they conceded on, and to see those things being taken away again was really devastating. I have 2 daughters, and I believe that they should have agency over their own bodies. I believe every woman should have agency over her choices.
I mean, I'm skipping ahead, but it comes up in the Lilith doc where like that was even an issue when Lilith Fair was going.
Yeah, we had Planned Parenthood at
Yeah.
all the events, and we had a bomb threat at one point because they were trying to get us to not include that.
So you're thinking about the ways that all this work that your mother's generation and your generation had done, you're watching it get rolled back, and you're scared to put it out because
I'm scared to talk openly and publicly about my personal feelings because I'm watching what's happening on social media. I'm watching the vitriol and the rage at anybody who has a different opinion about anybody else these days. And there doesn't seem to be any place for discourse and for debate if we have opposing sides. And I firmly believe that as humans, ultimately we need each other, and we have to figure out a way together. And if we just sit in our corners and rage at each other, nothing is ever going to move forward.
So why did you have your daughter sing on this song?
I think because it was for them as much as for me to, I feel like I have this platform and I want to do something good with it. And I also want to speak my truth and talk about what I believe in.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, an important time to not be complacent and not sit quietly and not do anything. And I talked to my daughters about, obviously they know what the song is about. And they're like, oh, no, we want to sing on this with you. I want to include them in it. I want them to be part of that conversation because they are part of the conversation.
How'd they do?
Oh, amazing. I mean, they both have beautiful voices. It was glorious because they never sing in front of me. I can kind of hear them in the back seat of the car singing along to other songs.
I wouldn't sing in front of you either, Sarah, to be honest. Like I wouldn't if I was them,
I know, I don't feel I don't feel like I'm intimidating, but I guess I am. So anyway, to hear them in their full voices singing, it was so beautiful because I'd never actually heard them sing out loud. And to hear them singing those words and then the challenge was putting it into the track. It was rather late. It was an iPhone recording, and they kind of sound a little bit like me.
Oh.
We have a similar tonality, so trying to get them into the mix where you could actually hear them. Like I can tell, I hear them, but it's a subtle thing.
And this is going to sound silly, but I think you're going to know what I mean. They know their mom is Sarah McLachlan. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Well, okay. Well, yeah, but like I don't mean legally.
Yeah. It's interesting. They weren't the least bit interested in any of it when they were younger.
Yeah.
But like my youngest watched part of the Lilith doc with me the last time I was looking at one of the edits, and I think I kind of came up a couple notches in the cool factor, where she's like, "Damn, Mom, you did that? That's pretty cool," because it was before their time.
It's pretty amazing, Sarah, and it's a beautiful doc, and it's
beautiful.
It's a lovely story. How did you feel about getting back into the headspace of back into Lilith Fair to be a part of this?
My involvement was so small compared to this epic adventure that Allie and her team put on of, acquiring all the information and then trying to figure out how to take 3 years and put it succinctly into 90 minutes.
Sure, but you're the protagonist. You're there telling the story of the thing,
Well, that was the easy part. I know how to tell the story. I've told it a million times.
But how was it going back into that in your mind? I mean, not everyone. You strike me as a person who doesn't look back too much.
No, I don't spend any time looking back, really. So it was interesting. I actually had to dig deep to remember a lot of things, and I got reminded of a lot of things watching the film, and almost to the point of having just a tiny bit of PTSD about parts of it, like the press conferences every day. Like, oh, it was so annoying.
I was talking to some people before. I mean, you mentioned your daughters weren't even born when it happened. I was talking to a few people in this room who are here because of how much Lilith meant to them and how they were inspired by Lilith, but also weren't born when the festival started.
Well, how cool is that?
Yeah. So I thought maybe right after you tell me you don't like to look back, I figured I'd ask you questions about the past.
It's not that I don't like to, I just don't spend much time doing it.
I understand. For those in the room who may not know what the environment was like before Lilith Fair, talk a little bit about the environment you found yourself in as an artist that inspired you to want to do something like this.
So when I was just starting out and I was just starting to get radio play, I would go to all the radio stations, and I would do meet and greets, and I would often perform. And it was sort of vying for attention, vying to get your single played on radio. And quite often I was met with, it's really a great song, but we can't add you this week because we added Tori Amos, or we added Tracy Chapman, or we added Sinead O'Connor, or Jewel. And I never understood why there was this tiny little slot allotted for female artists when you could play all these guys back to back.
So they were saying, like, hey, we can't add you because we have enough women.
We really only have a spot for one a week, and we can't really play more than one woman at a time anyway. It's just, people might change the channel. And I was like, are you kidding me? That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. And then when trying to put the festival on, I had women open up for me before, and I had sold out my shows, maybe not 15,000 seaters, but in a smaller arenas. And we were told that, you can't put two women back to back for shows. People won't want to come see that. It's too much female music. And that just seemed ridiculous to me. So it didn't start out being about, an FU to the industry, but it kind of became that when they said, you can't do that. People won't come. I'm like, well, I've already been doing that, and it's already worked. So I don't believe you. We're just going to forge ahead. There's all this great music that's dominating now, like with adult contemporary radio and AAA. Like a lot of women were gaining a ton of traction and getting very popular. Yet there was not a single woman on any of the like Lollapalooza or these big summer festivals. So that we'll just do it ourselves.
There's some doubt around it when you
some, yeah. There was within the industry there was a lot of doubt. I don't think there was a single promoter that would, they said, well, okay, we'll do it, but you take on the entire risk. We're not giving you any guarantees.
Like financially?
Financially, so, yeah. So we could have been on the hook for millions of dollars. We got lucky, right time, right place. We had great artists who said yes, and it turns out the audience actually wanted to hear that.
I mean, the first festival date, 1997, the Gorge Amphitheater in Washington State, really famous venue. And I think Joni Mitchell just played there not that long ago.
She did, yeah.
A massive, and a huge room.
And I played with her. Oh, God, that was amazing.
You with Joni at that show?
Yeah, one of them, at the Joni Jam, the Brandy Carlisle Joni Jam. It was myself, Annie Lennox, and Allison Russell sitting on the couch behind Joni Mitchell, singing backups for her.
What song?
All of them.
No way, really?
Yeah. Whatever we wanted to sing on, we were losing our minds. I'm sitting beside Annie Lennox, and I'm like, I'm losing my mind because it's Annie Lennox.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her, like, can you believe this? And she goes, oh my God, I know, it's crazy. And she's having the same fangirl moment I am. And I'm like, I don't even know who to fangirl on here because it's too much.
That's the venue of the first Lilith show. Did that dawn on you while you were there? Like, hey, I was here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a piece in the Lilith doc too, because a couple of years ago, Brandy invited me to open up for her.
Brandy Carlisle,
at the Gorge.
Yeah.
And I was so pleased to be there to support her. And she walked on before I got on stage and totally championed me, and said, I sat up in the rafters there and I watched Lilith Fair, and Sarah and everybody else showed me, that I could do anything. And this is Sarah McLachlan's house. And I'm backstage, starting to cry because it's unbelievable. And I have to go out there and perform. And I'm like, no, this is Brandy Carlisle's house. It's her show. But it was just, it was a wonderful full circle of women supporting women and championing each other and lifting each other up.
I think a lot of people won't have known the financial risk part of it. Mm-hmm. Like that it was not just a reputational risk. It was not just, hey, this doesn't work out.
It could have been financial ruin.
It could have been ruin.
Because it was a massive thing.
And then you are on the stage at the Gorge. It's an outdoor stage. You look out into the crowd, sort of peek before, and it's full.
15,000 people.
And how do you feel in that moment?
Absolute terror. And absolute exhilaration.
Why terror?
Well, because I hadn't played in front of an audience of that size before. I was headlining, and I also had a brand new record. Surfacing was just coming out.
Oh, yeah.
It was a very surfacing heavy set. I was headlining a festival, which I'd been at in the hot sun all day, meeting everybody, putting out fires, just, in anticipation of everything that was happening, watching all the shows. It was a long day. And then I got up there and played a set of music that no one had ever heard before.
Famously
to a tired crowd of 15,000 people. And it fell so flat, right? Because nobody knew the music. So we quickly rallied and put a whole bunch of older stuff back in and found our footing. But it was a bit of an anticlimactic first night for me.
I find that the journey of the backstage hang very interesting in Lilith Fair. Because I think I was always under the impression that everyone must have got along and everyone was really happy the entire time. But in the doc, Suzanne Vega talks about how there was like a bit of a stiffness at times between some of the musicians, and that it was the Indigo Girls when they showed up. And
Yeah,
so can you talk about that?
She was sort of referring to at the very beginning, as we were finding our footing. I was hoping I wanted to connect with everybody. I met everybody, but there wasn't really there wasn't a communal vibe yet, in the sense that, I didn't really know how do we talk to each other? How do we get to know each other? It's kind of like blind dating, right?
Yeah.
Without sort of the framework. And then the Indigo Girls showed up, I think maybe the 6th or 7th show, and it's like, thank goodness, because they're like, well, why aren't we all singing together? I'm like, well, I want to. I just don't quite, is that okay to ask? And they're like, oh my God, yeah, we'll ask. And I'm like, okay, great, awesome. And so from that moment on, they kind of opened all the doors and were like, oh, it's okay to ask. And, no one said no. Everybody was waiting for that invitation. So they were paramount in that, that feeling of, okay, let's all work together. Let's all play together. Let's do a song at the end of the night together.
What's your favorite moment of collaboration from Lilith? What's your favorite moment of being on stage?
I don't know how I could possibly cite one. There were so many. Singing with Sinead O'Connor, that was a really big one. She sang Angel with me, and she was so sweet. She had such a wicked sense of humor.
Yeah.
And she was a bit tortured even then, but I think having this safe space, this community backstage where everybody was hanging out, she really opened up, and she was a lot of fun to be around.
It says in the doc, you talk about wanting to make sure Lilith Fair was a, quote, great, positive, ego-free space. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that, and what did you have to do to create it?
Well, we all came into the situation being basically in competition with each other.
Yeah, Sheryl
right?
Crow, you, Tracy, like people were,
Yeah, all of us, basically. Like, again, being offered a tiny sliver of the pie and always pitted against each other in the industry. And I wanted to get rid of all that. We're just artists. We're making music. It's all different. It's all unique. Let's celebrate our uniqueness and lift each other up, right? So just creating that environment backstage where it's like, I want everybody, and that was another great thing about the Indigo Girls, and saying, I really want all the artists to come on stage at the end and share the stage.
But like, how do you do it? Like, there would be competition, and there would be just shyness, and there were like, it feels like you did some stuff. It feels like it was intentional.
There was disarming, right? Like I go up and I hug everybody. I'm a hugger. I'm a maritimer.
Yeah,
we hug.
For God's sake.
Yeah,
I know.
And I think if people were shy, I'm just like, okay, I would just find a way in. I would be stupid or take the piss out of myself or be self-deprecating or something. Just try to pull them out of their shell. And sometimes it took a couple days. Like Tracy Chapman was very, very shy.
Tell me.
Well, she kind of never came out of her shell. We tried, and she wanted to do the show and just she was very insular. So I wish I could have worked harder to reach out to her, but I was also, running around like a chicken with my head cut off every day too. So if the artists were there longer, there was way more chance to develop those kind of relationships.
I can't get over the artists who were who weren't as well known, who were playing Lilith. Like Missy Elliott played Lilith Fair.
That was her first live show.
Lilith Fair.
Yeah.
Wild, man.
I know.
What did you make of it?
It was incredible. She came out in that great, big garbage suit. She had blown up air in it, and I'm like, this is awesome.
Christina Aguilera played what stage?
On the C stage.
The C stage.
Yeah, up by the bathrooms.
That's not SEA, boys. That's the letter.
Well, it was where we had young artists local artists in every city.
Yeah.
Come out and perform as well. So there would be that, and then there were young up and coming artists there.
Like Christina Aguilera.
Yeah, but I played the C stage too, because there were some artists that I knew, and I'm like, hey, can I come sing with you?
Right.
And then I'd be on the C stage with them. So again, it's just trying to break these boundaries, these invisible boundaries that we didn't want to be there. We're just all musicians that wanted to hang out together and make music together.
I think the narrative about Lilith up until I saw this doc was people didn't believe in Sarah at the very beginning, and then she proves them wrong, and the tour and the festival is an unmitigated success, and everyone is happy, and everyone learns so much. And I think in the doc, I learned that it was actually really hard while it was running. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just talking about like, the having to run a tour, which is hard enough.
Yeah.
But the press and the media and like sort of radio stations and comedians were tough on Lilith Fair. You mentioned the press conferences. Well, were tough on Lilith Fair while it was happening.
Tough on women generally, and they were also tough on anybody standing out against the norm. And I mean, like Paula Cole winning all those Grammys and lifting up her arm, and she hadn't shaved, and it became all about that. And instead of having this beautiful moment of success, she just got ripped apart for not having shaved her armpits, which is, if she was a guy, that wouldn't have been a conversation.
And what were you hearing about Lilith? Like, what were you hearing? What was, I guess what I'm trying to get to is, did any of it get to you? Like, what were you hearing?
Oh, absolutely, it got to me. I was quite green and naive and young as an artist and had lots of critical success. Journalists were typically quite kind to me. So this was like trial by fire, because we had created something that needed to be defended every step of the way, every day. And I mean, one of the most constant questions was, why do you hate men? And I'm like, what does celebrating women have to do with hating men?
Yeah.
But you're either...
Or like hypocrisy. They would be like...
Too feminist. Yeah. You're not feminist enough. You're not diverse enough. And I agreed with that. We got the whole white chick folk fest moniker for a while, and it was frustrating because we had reached out to every artist, but myself and say Cheryl as anchors, at like an urban artist or an R&B artist manager would look at that and go, I don't know where the place for my artist would be in this, instead of, hey, this is an opportunity to play, to diversify all of our audiences.
That's a big point in the doc, sort of the realization that you had around that, and the welcoming of artists, of black and brown artists to be part of it. I just didn't know that you were getting such, and it did have an effect on you, the criticism that you were getting.
Oh, it was hard because I had no idea how angry people would become or could become about this simple thing that we were trying to create, or that everybody had an expectation, and it was too much of this, if not enough of that, and it was just frustrating to have to defend it all the time. And also, like, you were it became a bit of a punchline, and people were, yeah. And then there's a moment in the doc that sticks out to me, and I thought you might tell the story, is that you started having second thoughts about Lilith in it. Just for a brief moment, I think, because it was like, why are you not including men? You should include men. What's wrong with you? Why are you doing this way? And for a moment, I think I actually said it out loud, even though I know full well I never would have done it. I mentioned this, maybe at some point we should include men. And I remember so clearly, Emmylou Harris took me aside because she was at the press conference too, and she's like, Sarah, I know you said this, but please stay with this. This is in its infancy, and it's beautiful, and you need to stay the course. And I was like, thank you.
Emmylou Harris.
Thank you, Emmylou Harris. Wise, beautiful matriarch. Mm-hmm. That was just a moment for me of like just getting, kind of beaten down by the media and this constant scrutiny and constant questions of why? It should be this, it should be that. Instead of just going, no, this is what it is. And from that moment on, it was, this is what it is, and I'm following through.
You have artists like Olivia Rodrigo in this documentary talking about what Lilith meant to them.
Yeah.
You have Brandi Carlile talking a little bit about going to Lilith and how that sort of changed their life forever. I mean, I have to imagine that's meaningful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there's so many legacies of Lilith.
Yeah.
I think the community that we created, not just for ourselves as artists, but the audience as well, that opportunity to come be part of this amazing thing and be part of something bigger than yourself in this great, beautiful, safe space. The fact that so many young women, Brandi Carlile, Olivia wasn't there, but experienced that. And all the stories that I've had given back to me of like, you showed me that I could do and be anything I wanted. And now I'm running a corporation and I'm bringing along women. that legacy is beautiful. I took all the money that I made from Lilith, I put it into a foundation, and for the last 24 years, it's helped fund the Sarah McLachlan School of Music, which is a free after-school music and mentorship program for kids in Vancouver and Edmonton and New Westminster now. Yeah. So, 24 years in, we have over 1,200 students a year in the program. It's completely free. It always will be. I've continued to really actively fundraise for the last 24 years as well. But I think giving kids the opportunity to find their voice in a really safe, nurturing environment is incredibly important, especially these days.
After you do something like that, when you go back on the road and you continue on with your career, it's just, are you approaching it differently? Are you thinking about things differently after that?
It was incredible. It was exhausting, overwhelming, exhilarating, glorious. I was really grateful for the experience. And I think that idea, as I said, of being part of something bigger than yourself, of working towards a common good, using your platform for something positive to create positive change, I think it galvanized in me that sense. And again, that's why the school was started. And just that idea of giving back was so powerful. It feels so good to be have purpose and to be of service. So that Lilith certainly really galvanized that in me.
How do you think about the world that young women were entering when you started Lilith versus the world that they're in now? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, some things have changed and some things have stayed the same, and some things, as you said, have actually rolled back. And I think the positive thing is that women do feel more powerful, and women do feel like they have a voice. Not all women, unfortunately, just like not all people, but I think there's a shift towards, that powerful force where when we get together, we can, if not only create change, but we can also create a really strong bond of community. And I think one of the most important things about putting a film like Lilith out today is that idea of, if we work together, we can build something beautiful. If we lift each other up, we can build beautiful things, as opposed to tearing each other down. And unfortunately, that seems to be what is happening. That's the prevailing attitude, at least within the media and what we're being showed. Is that everybody's angry, and it makes sense to be angry. But ultimately, if you just sit in your corner and rage about what's going on, there has to be some movement forward. And to have movement, you have to have discourse, and you have to have curiosity, and you have to have some opening. And I believe music is one of those bridges that provides opening. It provides a softening so that a conversation might be possible. Here's hoping, anyway.
How are you feeling putting this record out in terms of, and I've been trying to figure this out, in terms of your expectations for yourself? Like when I watched the early days, and I've been, we've been talked a bunch of times in the past, and I see the hunger of the early days of Sarah McLachlan. Like in the early days when you were still in Halifax, we were talking about October Game, and we were talking Sarah's first band in Halifax. Look it up; they're wicked. The early days, the first couple of records, there's a hunger there in you. There's a hunger there. Mm-hmm. And of course it all paid off. I'm always really interested in the dog that catches the car. Like when you do get all the Grammys and you do get all the Junos, and you do have, does that hunger change? What are your sort of expectations for yourself around this new record? Do you know what I mean?
My expectations are still very high for myself, not for what some might consider success. For me, the success of this record is in that I did it. I'm incredibly proud of it. I love it. And because of that, I'm sitting here today, and I want to do the work to promote it so that people will hear it, and hopefully it will help them in some small way, because it's helped me exponentially. So perhaps, life has gotten in the way, and I'm not quite as hungry to, get back out on the road and promote. Because that's a whole different animal.
Yeah,
I like being at home. I like my dogs. I like being in the woods.
Yeah.
And I'm just a little older, so it's a little. It's harder being away. but I still want to do it. I still love performing. I love connecting with people. And like I said, right now, I think the world needs music more than ever. I think the world needs opportunities to connect with each other on an emotional level, on a meaningful level, where it's like we can all kind of leave our shit at the door, leave our social and political and religious beliefs, put them aside for a second, and just be together. And I mean, this maybe sounds really utopian right now, but that's my hope. I mean, my job, I think, is to spread love and to spread the idea of meaningful emotional connection through music.
I heard that when Joni Mitchell comes on the CBC, she's the only person who's allowed to smoke in the studio. And I'm willing to say this.
Well, she'd just do it anyway. So
for the people for the incredibly talented folks on the show who are going to edit this, I'm going to say that Sarah McLachlan's allowed to say shit on the CBC. So that sounds good. That's, this one time I've gotten away with it. Yeah, I think so. What are you, when you look back on Lilith and this documentary, what are you proudest of?
I'm proudest that we achieved not only what we set out to achieve, but so much more than I ever could have imagined in terms of progress for us as women, for us as artists, the community we built, the relationships, the young people that we inspired to reach higher. It's pretty cool.
You're going to do one more song, and you're going to do one of the hits.
Sure thing.
We asked you what song to play, and what song you wanted to play, and we heard back that you wanted to play Building a Mystery.
I can do that.
Tell me a little bit about why that song is on your mind, why this is the one you were thinking to play.
Well, it's in the title of the new Lilith documentary, and it's interesting because that song for me is sort of about all the masks that we often put on to try and boost ourselves up or make us appear to be bigger or stronger or better than we actually are. It's like that fake it till you make it thing, and in some way, Lilith was very much fake it till you make it. Like, we had no idea what we were doing, but we knew we wanted to do it, and we had, a ton of energy. We were young and didn't know any better, and especially when someone says, no, you can't do it, I'm like, oh, we're going to prove you wrong.
I think I can speak for everybody in the room that there's a tremendous amount of gratitude felt for you. And a tremendous amount of appreciation felt for you for sharing some of the story today and coming in and singing for us. Thanks so much for doing this, Sarah. Sarah McLachlan, everybody.